are you? My birthday. Tuko sawa? I can't hear you guys. I'm doing it again. Tuko sawa? You know, I'm talking about child participation. So if you mukiniangusha, it's not gonna be nice. You know, and then here I'm trying to talk about child participation, and then you're keeping quiet. Tuko power? Thank you. So our adult group was talking about child participation, okay? And the key things that came up was the SDGs as they are right now, from 1 to 17, they all belong to children. So if you're talking about child poverty, the most poor people are children. If you're going to go to 17, peace, when there is peace, who is the most affected, who is most impacted? Children. Let's go right in the middle, 13, climate change. Who is affected? When you do gender, who is affected? So all the 17 goals have to do with children, okay? So there is need to ensure there is space, there is time, there is a voice, and there's influence from children. And then something very powerful that came out was they need to partner with children, okay? Not as adults, but as children. Because most of the time, we are busy saying we want to work with children, but we are bringing our adultiness, our adultism, to the space of children. So we are expecting the children, because they're going to speak at the UN, they need to talk to dress like Dr. Mustafa or Reverend Fred, okay, in a suit, okay? And the children don't want that. Or they need to have a long speech and articulate themselves in a certain way, okay? But the children, probably they just want to draw. There's some kids, I saw some drawings when I was coming in the morning. They just want to draw. There's some kids, I saw some drawings when I was coming in the morning. So we need to remove adultism from participation of children. Where are children? Where are the children? Anybody knows where children are right now? The current generation of children. Where are they? Where are they? They are here, yes. Thank you, guys. I can see you. I acknowledge you. I'm asking the adults, where are children? Only the Gen Z in the room knows that. Children are in the digital space, okay? So that is their space. But how many of us have gone there to ensure that you are listening to them in the digital space? How many, don't lift up your hands, guys. How many of us know how to play Roblox? Not you. Not you. I'm asking this side of the room. How many? Roblox? No, not you. What is Roblox? Please have lunch with the kids. They will tell you what is Roblox. Okay? So that's where they are. Okay? Please look up what is Roblox. Please. Yeah, just for the sake of me. Not for, just look at. So be where the children are. Go listen to them where they are. So our recommendation, and I want the kids to help me with this. So our recommendation is one. We just have one recommendation. No pact for the future without the future. Okay, let's do it together. No pact for the future without the future. Because the future is? Okay, let's do it again.
The future without the future.
Now we know it. Can we say it louder? Because we have a lot of UN people in this building. So we need to let them to hear. 1, 2, go. Hey, the adults, you're not helping me, Yawa. Okay, let's do adults only.
No path for the future without the future.
And that's our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will go straight to group 3 and 4. Maybe you can come to the front. You have 1 minute each. Tell us your
and that's our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will go straight to group 3 and 4. Maybe you can come to the front. You have 1 minute each. Tell us your
and that's our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you can see me, wave your hand. Everybody is tall. Thank you. Okay, so our group 4, first of all, you have to appreciate, this was a very, very exciting and insightful discussion. And you know, before I mention our recommendation, we identified the challenges that we faced. Because in Africa, we have a very good proverb that says, you cannot travel abroad without knowing where the airport is located. So before we get to the recommendation, let me take you through the challenges that we identified. First, the first challenge that we identified is about that the human fraternity will face is about the ongoing climate crisis. And we have already seen it. Floods, droughts have already wreaked havoc across the world. This is not just in Africa. And this will continue exacerbating the problems in the future. Another thing that we also found out is there is currently ineffective public services because we have a model of governance that does not care about the people who put those leaders there. We also have the issue about food insecurity. Imagine that Africa has over 60% of the arable land in the world, yet according to the last report by the Integrated Phase Food Coalition, the IPC, over 40% of children in Africa are stunted, they are malnourished. So this will become even a bigger problem in the future, and it's going to exacerbate issues like the prevalence of vector-borne and waterborne diseases. We have already seen malaria becoming an issue, even in America. Brian can attest to that. It was never an issue there before. It's going to become a problem all across, and we know that the capacity to produce drugs is also a problem because in Africa we just manufacture only 1% of the drugs we use. Another issue that we came up with is about the socio-economic inequalities. Remember that there are many people who are living in urban informal settlements. They may not be here today, but on the other side of Nairobi, on the other side of every city in Africa, they are located there, and that's going to become a problem. How do we ensure that they live their rights in dignity as it's stated in the United Nations Convention on Child Rights? So based on that, our recommendation is very simple, and it is twofold. The first thing that we have to do is we have to have inclusive and participatory governance that takes into account contextualized responses to the issues we have. Listen to that. It's very beautiful. I know I'm not going to ask you to repeat it because it has so many challenging vocabularies, but it's very simple. If we have inclusive governance, remember we're not using the word democratic because democracy, we have never found a very good definition about it. And so if you have inclusive governance, it's going to solve these challenges and it's going to give hope and opportunity for young people. And lastly, we also need to have strong community engagement that takes into account implementing the current legal frameworks that we have. And I've already mentioned them, the Convention on the Child Rights. Each country has a policy on children. We need to do that. So basically that was what Group 4 said, and please give our members a round of applause.
Well done, Group 4. Group 3, where are you? We kind of skipped you somewhere. Yes. Okay.
So I'm from Group 3, handling human fraternity, and we're looking at how can education and intercultural dialogue contribute to the promotion of human dignity. And there's one question that we asked ourselves as a group is, what's the global block for global citizenship? Because having all this and talking about human fraternity is how we are all coming together and for the promotion of human dignity. And something that came from our group is having value-based education, which has respect for human dignity. And we all know that this is based on the sense of responsibility and the sense of respect for one another. And so we came to realize that we came to realize that this allows for all to realize that differences are not supposed to divide us. Rather, differences are supposed to build us. We're supposed to see this person is different from me, and how can I join them? How can I collaborate with them? And for me to build something beautiful, for us to build something that we can all enjoy together. And we realize that we cannot have all this without talking about family as an institution. And we have family because that is the basic unit of society. We also have the community. From the family, what we teach our children, the values we impart in from the family level, and how we bring that to the community. As a community, what values do we have? And also coming from the community, we also have institutions, religious, education, and other forms of institutions. What kind of values do we put in these institutions? that form the larger community for us also. Having a sense of respect and a sense of responsibility for my neighbor, for the neighboring country, for the neighboring community, someone from a different race, for example, is all that we are all supposed to be looking at. So thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. We go to resilient communities, group number 5. 5 and 6. Please do come.
Thank you so much. I am Joel Mutulu from the Arigato team, and we were in group 5 and 6, and we are discussing about building resilient communities. And we started by stating what is resilience. This is the ability to bounce back and recover effectively from the challenges that we face as a society. And we identified some of the challenges that we face, and we started by what we are facing currently, the issue of floods, now climate change. And we started thinking of how do we do with this climate change. We came up with environmental sustainability practices, like we're now planting of trees and using clean energy to do away with climate change. And we thought of how then do we promote the environmental sustainability. We thought of infrastructure development. And in terms of infrastructure, if our infrastructure was well today, we wouldn't be having the current funds that we are having in our country. And we thought of how do we achieve this infrastructure development. We linked that into good leadership. And how do we promote good leadership? One, electing the right leaders into the office to make sure they make the right decision-making processes, and even who have the heart or who have the issues of the people at heart. In case of an issue or in case of even floods, like leaders can be able to come up with or even make such challenges, disasters, and even seek help from other people. And how do we seek help from other people? Through one, social cohesion. In terms of social cohesion, we must be able to come up together as a society and try to solve the challenges that we face as a society. If you have a challenge, I can come to your rescue because some of these challenges we face today, example, floods. The flood that we are facing is caused by the climate change. Climate change is caused most by the European countries who are now coming to our rescue to help us deal with the climate change. That was our discussion, and thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate them. And then the other group on resilience. I think that's group. Oh, you combined. Lovely. Okay, we have the future and present. Meanwhile, there'll be a few people who have been listening. They'll give their reflection based on all the things that we've heard today. They will be coming up, and Reverend Nika will be moderating that session. Each person will have about 3 minutes to give us their reflection.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Jessica and I'm 15 years old. I think it's a great pleasure to be part of this event today. I'm just going to quickly summarize what the children's group were discussing today. So our topic was the meaningful child participation, and according to them, they thought that meaningful child participation is to be able to actively be involved and have significance and enough impact to be talking into these events. And we thought that our recommendation is that there must be quality education being provided. And this does not just refer to academic knowledge. It refers to any other maybe technological skill set, which I think many of the kids have today. But critical thinking, empathy, such key points, they need to have the basic education to that. And one of our team members brought up that maybe we're not giving equal opportunity to those who don't have access to education, but that's why we need to raise awareness. We use billboards, use social media, and by raising awareness, we also mean increasing the amount of partnerships, not just between organizations, but between adults and children as well. And that's how it's going to improve them and help them raise awareness. Because by partnerships, you have access to more resources, you have access to more skill sets, you have access to more ideas, and this will all help to gather more children. In such an event today, I think it's a great event, but we could still have had more by raising more awareness. If more children had known about this, then they could have been part of us today and given more ideas. And I think the rest of the points will be covered by Sean.
All protocols observed. My name is Troy, and I'll be here to add on to what she said. Now, I want to start off by saying that aid is not one size fits all. That's why we need to diversify the children being involved in this sector. Like, when I look here, I feel like there's a set of children who are not here, but are required to be here. I'm talking about people who are victims of abject poverty. These are people who are refugees, people who are basically suffering. I feel like we need to involve those people in this discussion because as much as a student who can represent them, I feel like their input here will also be valued. Now, another thing is that we also talked about the heart and will. I feel like we thought that children should have a will and a heart to will. And the only way this will be able to happen is if these children are given a safe environment, they're actually able to do this. Because one, these children are being put in places whereby their opinion is hard, but it's being taken as a child's opinion. And I feel like for children to finally have a say in matters that affect them, we should remove the we should basically separate the child from the idea. We should learn to take the idea and not who it's coming from, but rather the idea they carry. That was my time.
Wonderful, thank you very much. We got your message very clear, inclusivity, and we should not only talk to ourselves, but we should also look across the fence. Now, may I request Mr. Brian King, the advisor to the chairperson, Africa Children Summit, Mtoto News, to come to the front. And also Ms. Ratan Chana, Trustee Global Council United Region Initiative, URI, to come to the front. And Ibrahim Lidome, Secretary General, Center for Sustainable Conflict Resolution, also to come to the front. And lastly, Madam Karimi Kinoti, the technical expert, Africa Faith Leaders Initiative on SDGs, also to come to the front. And each of you will have 3 minutes to give us reflections on what you've been hearing. That is the meaningful participation from Brian, Human Fraternity, Ms. Ratan Chana, Resilient Community, Sheikh Ibrahim Lidome, and then we'll have some technical input from Madam Karimi Kinoti, and Reverend Nikta, the General Secretary of OAIC, that is Organization of African Instituted Churches, to come and moderate. Let me apologize, we are running a little bit out of time, and I'm requesting for your indulgence for about 15 minutes from what we had committed ourselves to. We are trying our best. We started a little bit late, but we are catching up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to each one of you and to all of us. We do have a panel here of eminent persons who will be almost pulling together what we have gone through. We've been talking about meaningful participation and empowering young people, and young people who are represented in this room. Reverend Nyabera has already introduced the people who are around here, so they will not take a lot of time because each one of us has 3 minutes. We've listened to all the groups, we've listened to the keynote addresses, and a number of things have been coming through, but I pick up what the keynote address from the young person who was talking about targeted interventions in addressing the inequalities that limit youth and children. For me, that is a highlight from the keynote addresses, and also from Dr. Mustafa Ali, who was talking about children at the front and center in shaping the present and the future. That is a highlight from the keynote. And from Riyadh, who said the issues we are addressing are bigger than any one of us or any of the organizations. So the whole issue pulling together comes together. So welcome. I'll be starting with Mr. Brian King to, just in your 3 minutes, tell us about how out of this meeting we shape the future, the present and future, with the young people at the center and at the front.
All right, thank you so much. So the thing is, I was introduced as the chairperson of the Africa Children's Summit, and I'm glad I was introduced that way because the theme of the summit is seen, heard, and engaged. And as I was listening to these kids, they also added respected, and that really, really affirmed this, seen, heard, engaged, and respected. Okay, so I was part of that discussion, and I was actually very sad that they only got to present like 5 of them, because it was a roundtable discussion. Some of them were playing, some of them were, just interacting in their own different ways and expressing themselves. And some of the things I got out of that, actually, what meaningful child participation should look like in its own space, in its own life. You get? So no, I prepared a bit for this panel, to be honest, but I want to talk about what I had from them because they didn't get enough time to actually express it, but it's fine. Let me talk about it instead. So what does meaningful child participation look like in the context of not youth, but children engagement especially? I am a 19-year-old citizen of Kenya with 18 years of experience as a child and only 1 year as a youth. so I think it will be better for me to speak in the context of children, yeah? I want to talk about capacity, motive, feedback, and action. What is capacity in the first place? How do you engage children if they don't know what they're being engaged in? What they're talking about, what is it they're doing, what is it they want to do in the first place. I feel like we always underestimate the importance of capacity, especially as civil society organizations, because we don't want to invest in capacity, in capacitating our children. We don't want to invest in giving them the resources they need to actually actively participate in the space, actively shape the space. Civil societies, at least, I would say a good percentage of civil societies in Kenya work for children, but not with them, which does not make any sense, any logical sense at least. We only engage children during events, and we want to go somewhere, call random children, and want to actually use the excuse of lived experiences without telling these kids exactly how can you participate best, exactly what is it we're talking about here, and exactly what is it we want you to do in this space, okay? Motive and will. We all know what tokenism is, and when I was a kid, I have to say, I really enjoyed tokenism. I got a lot of gifts. And it was really fun to go to events and get out with gifts. But did I really get to participate? Or do adults just want me in the photo and then pay me with gifts? That's what we usually do. And we have to reconsider ourselves. I was talking to them and I was listening to them, and none of them actually mentioned the fact that, they want to get something out of this. Is it financial or is it actually participatory? Is it their voice or is it that gift bag or the tote bag that they're gifting after that? We should reflect on that as we're talking about meaningful child participation. And then from feedback. After this, do we get back to these children? Do we show them the impact they've made? Do we track the progress of the growing children in the space? How are they shaping this space of ours? How are we growing? How can we say we are growing if we don't know where we came from, if we don't know what we did? How can we want to do something right if we don't know what we did wrong? Yeah? And then I had someone talk about barriers,
You are in your last minute?
In my last minute. Okay, then I have to utilize my last minute very well, and talk about something called categorization and age and grouping. Okay, when you're talking about meaningful child participation, you cannot group a 17-year-old with a 24-year-old and say that is meaningful participation. You just can't do that. You cannot tell me that I am 19 years old, but I am a youth with a 35-year-old, and we're supposed to talk about and be sorted in the same group. As a civil society space, we have to consider this. A 7-year-old with a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old with a 20-year-old. Let's be realistic, Let's actually invest, because we don't want to invest money in safeguarding, in chaperones and all that. It's too expensive, but we need to do it. It's important. And I feel like that's what I had to share with you guys, yeah? Maybe next time when I get more time, I can share more. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Four things: capacity, motive and will, feedback, and categorization, which we shall look for the word, so that we don't go against what you are doing. We certainly make it, like I come from church. Sunday school can be from 3 years, sometimes to 18. So everyone who is a child in the same room. So thank you so much for bringing us those four. Now we shall turn to Madame Ratan Chana. What does it mean for participation for young people and empowerment here?
Hello. Good afternoon. Actually, I'm supposed to talk on
Human
fraternity. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm taken up by participation. I was in the room.
So I'll talk about human fraternity. Well, my name is Ratan Korchana, and I'm former trustee to Global Council of United Nations Initiative, and I'm vice chairperson of Sikh Council Africa. Looking ahead, there are several potentials, future challenges, and opportunities of human fraternity and dignity on the global scale. Here we discussed, and one of my colleagues Hello. Yeah, it's fine. Yes. So one of my colleagues, he has already informed what we talked about these challenges and the opportunities. But I'll talk overall global opportunities and challenges about what I think about this subject. Looking ahead, there are several potential future challenges and opportunities in advancing the principles of human fraternity and dignity on a global scale. These include technical disruption, rapid advancement of technical such as artificial intelligence can lead to job displacement and economic. Managing these challenges while safeguarding human dignity and promoting fraternity Okay, but I think you can hear me. Yeah. Deep geopolitical tensions, rising nationalism and geopolitical rivalries could hinder international cooperation and exacerbate conflicts. This may make it more difficult to promote human dignity and fraternity across borders. Climate change impact. As the effect of climate change intensify, challenges are such resource scarcity, displacement, and environment degradation could strain. Wait, I'm not wearing my glasses. That's the problem. That could communities and increase inequalities, making it harder to advance human dignity and fraternity. Misinformation and polarization. The spread of misinformation and disinformation can further polarize societies and create divisions, undermining trust and complicating efforts to foster human fraternity. Global health crisis. Future pandemics or health crises could strain global health systems and lead to unequal access to care. Addressing these crises while upholding human dignity and fraternity will require coordinated international action. Now the opportunities. Technology provides opportunities for global communication and collaboration, enabling people to connect across distances and share ideas. This can foster understanding and solidarity. Youth engagement, as you mentioned, youth engagement. Young people are increasingly engaged in social and political activism. By empowering them to lead efforts in advancing human dignity and fraternity, there is potential for long-term positive change. Sustainable development. As the world moves forward, more sustainable practices, there is an opportunity to promote human dignity and fraternity through equitable access to resources and opportunities. Global partnership, as the people have mentioned, partnerships are very important because you can't move more or further if you are alone. Strengthening global partnership between governments, NGOs and private sector can lead to collaborative efforts and advance the principles of human fraternity and dignity. Intercultural and interfaith dialogue, those are also very important. Promoting dialogue across cultures and faiths can foster mutual respect and understanding, laying the groundwork for stronger relationship and collaboration on shared challenges. The challenges can be solved if we share them with other communities, other communities. Innovative policies and initiatives. Governments and international organizations can adopt innovative policies and initiatives that prioritize human rights, equality, and inclusiveness, setting the stage for a more just and equitable world. In summary, while there are significant challenges to advancing human dignity and fraternity on the global scale, there are also numerous opportunities for progress. By harnessing the potential of digital connectivity, engaging youth and fostering global partnership, the international community can work towards a more compassionate, inclusive and just world. That is my thinking. Thank you.
A more compassionate, just and equitable, a more compassionate, just and equitable world. Thank you so much, Madam Chana, for the things you've raised: technology, youth engagement, sustainable development, and in that you brought the whole issue of global partnerships, and you're bringing the dialogue of faiths and cultures. But sometimes we forget the whole area of culture, and faith moves together with the culture. So thank you for that. But we need to work through how we realize this, especially the dialogue of faith and of faiths and cultures in relation to the present and future of young people. Thank you so much. I'll get back to each one of you for a major point as we close. But now let's move to Sheikh Ibrahim Lithomi. What are some of the innovative approaches or strategies for enhancing community resilience? So you're looking at the many challenges and opportunities that are before us.
Because of the limitation of the 3 minutes, I'll hit the ground running. Talking about enhancing the resilience of communities, we are talking about how to make sure we build their capacity and helping them navigate through difficulties and challenges. And not only that, how do they bounce back? For me, strategy number one. You cannot effectively deal with a problem that you do not fully understand. So strategy number one, understand what that problem is. What is its nature and its magnitude? That is not enough. You need also to understand the root causes of that problem. So question number one is, what is it? Question number two, why? You'll get the right weapon now to deal with that problem. Talk about climate change. We need to fully understand what it is and the causes. And then we will be equipped now with strategies to prevent, and when it happens, to mitigate the effects and prevent it recurring in future. And for those who are affected, how do we help them bounce back? So it begins with creating awareness and full understanding of what the problem is. Again, we need to know that on your own, whether you are a religious community, whether it is the future, the present, somebody called me the pastor, where I was sitting, somebody called me because of my age. I don't know whether I'm the past together with Madame Rotani here. Yeah, but what I want to say on a serious note here, we need partnerships here. Identify the strategic partners that we need to work with. And not only that, we don't want just joy riders. Identify the partners and what role each one of them will play. I'm still within my 3 minutes, I want to believe. Yeah. To wind up, I think there is something that we miss somewhere. One of the biggest problems is we have forgotten the role of religion. And I want to point an accusing finger to the religious leaders across here. So that does not exclude Reverend Nyabera sitting here. I know you are here in another capacity, but you're still a clergy. This idea of looking at a religion only as something to help us go there. Where is there? I know for the Christians they will say to meet Jesus Christ. Somebody, the Muslims will say going to heaven. But why can't we use religion? Because I think this is the right role of religion. Religion should help us live in this world today, here today, navigate through the problems that we face today, then we'll have a better place for there. So, the proper interpretation of the role of religion as a tool to bring us together, regardless of our diversity, because I believe, and I can support it with authority from the Holy Scriptures, diversity is not an accident. Diversity is within God's plan. It is not a liability. It is an asset. So can we make use of that asset? Why I'm focusing on religion, Reverend, it is because the title here is the impact of faiths. Can we make proper use of faith, not a shortcut to heaven, but a tool to help us live in this world and make the world better. And that way, I will have paid the rent for a better place in heaven. Thank you.
The whole issue of understanding what we are dealing with and what are the causes, and the importance of partnerships in genuine partnerships, you say it not reminders, in addressing these issues. And then you ended with the resourcefulness of faith for us living on earth meaningfully, not simply meaningfully, living lives that are flourishing when religion is a resource in our midst. Can you imagine if 90% of the people in the world subscribe to a given religion? How comes that a group with the 10% is controlling all of us? Globally, that they control the UN, they control that you don't say faith, you don't do this, you don't do this. Most likely we need to assert the resourcefulness of faith. Many times faith is talked about when there is a bomb going off, or when Muslims and Christians are clashing. That is a very small thing. It's a big thing. But I'm saying Overall, we live together in harmony. Thank you for bringing the whole issue of the resourcefulness of faith. I'll turn to Madam Karim. How do you look at this? Yeah. Meaningful participation, human fraternity, resilient communities. You have an opportunity to put all those together.
Thank you very much. Let me remind us that part of the reason why we are here is that there is a UN, United Nations, civil society conference that is taking place in this neighborhood. It is the 69th. How many of you are 69 and thereabouts? It is the 69th conference of this United Nations and civil society. Young people, 69 years. Think about when the United Nations was formed and why it was formed. Why are we still having this meeting? And this meeting is the first time it's out of wherever else it has been in the global north. But it's also in the lead up to the summit of the future. And so the question, even as we talk about resilient community, our human fraternity, and as we have just been reminded, the role of faith, the question is that I would pose to us, even as we engage in this dialogue, is let us remember that there was a vision in 1945 going into 48 of a world that was peaceful, of a world where we had deep solidarity, a world, as you have just said, where we are flourishing. And the question then becomes, in 2024, what is that scorecard? Even when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, we look at the period that we have just come out of, and I know that we're not fully out of COVID. We've talked about conflicts, and they're becoming even more and more intractable. A big word there, but even more and more complicated. So we have conflicts, we have climate issues, we have crises of one form and another. And the idea of the United Nations is that countries come together to solve them together, because it's impossible for any one country, any one state to do so. So I go back to the question of what is that scorecard? And where we have 2024 as that moment for us to, yes, look at the current challenges and ask ourselves, is this system, this international system, working for us as the citizens of this globe, right? And what does, going back to what we are saying, meaningful participation look like? Now, the truth of the matter is that we can have a great conversation in this room, and and it's absolutely a fantastic dialogue that we are having. But we need to get that to influence the texts that will come out in September around what is being called the Pact for the Future, right? The Global Compact, the digital one, and also the Declaration for Future Generations. So I would say that when we talk about our human fraternity, when we talk about being resilient, when we talk about the role of faiths, let us remember that if we are going to influence what comes out from the summit and these declarations, which on the one hand is a piece of paper that are signed by our governments, But on the other hand, if we're talking about the United Nations and the whole multilateral system, serving the people, serving humankind, then we need to find that process, or those processes that get us to determine what this future looks like. And definitely, I agree with our young people that they need to be front and center. And the question then is, for us as adults, right, how do we, together with our young people, shape that future? Very clear messages, because the truth of the matter with UN processes and all these texts, we can't say a lot of things, but are there a few things, even coming out of this meeting, that we can speak to? I'll end by saying that there are already draft texts, okay? So there are already, when it comes to those 3 documents, and I'll just mention in terms of the pact, there is a 0 draft, there are 5 chapters, and in those 5 chapters, it talks about sustainable development and financing. That's the first issue. Do we have something to say to that? Secondly, it's about international peace and security. Thirdly, about science, technology, innovation, and digital cooperation. And in a day of artificial intelligence, of digital transformation, of certain of us human beings who want to go to space and move people there, talking about transhumanism. Do we, as a faith community, have something to speak to that from a moral perspective? Youth and future generations is the 4th area, right? I'm sure there is a lot, our young friends, that we have to say. And I don't know how many of you have actually seen that text. How many of you have influenced that text? It's extremely important. And finally, it's about transforming global governance. So we're saying that so far, going back to the scorecard, we could argue we're in an even more difficult place in terms of the multiple crises, the poly-crises that we find. We have a situation where we don't have much trust in institutions, whether they're at national level or at multinational level, okay, multilateral level. Do we have something to say in that? So to end, I would say it's fantastic for us to have dialogue and to engage, but we need to ensure that what we are saying is getting into the political processes and is influencing the discussions at the summit, and more importantly, the outcome in the declarations that will come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Karimi. Can you stretch it, Madam Karimi, making sure that it's even implemented in the countries, and so that we stretch it out there. So really, the pact for the future, excuse me, 5 things: financing of development, peace, science and technology, youth and future generations, and transforming global governance so that we are not simply recipients of what others do, but we are participants of that. Excuse me. So we would like to end with simply, if you can allow me, Reverend Nyabera, just a parting shot from each one of these, the final one, in the pulling together. Yes, Brian.
Okay, so
a sentence, not a paragraph.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, allow me, because it's a call to action for both adults and for the children. For the adults, it's simple. Move towards children and youth-led movements. There is power in that, and that is the true meaning of meaningful child participation. When it's led by them, okay? By us, okay? Involve us. For the children, one of you talked about sacrificing and being there, you know, your time and your energy and your resources, okay? Be there. Take up the mantle, and given the platform, utilize it properly, okay? And be active and enjoy the space in itself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A hand clap for you. Madam Chairman?
Yes, thank you. I think what we have discussed and heard, it is very beautiful, very encouraging. I only believe that whatever we discuss here, they are heard and implemented. You know, that will make the difference. What we have discussed the whole morning. Otherwise, these beautiful things are just discussed and kept on the shelf till the next meeting. So I hope that this thing, the international organization looks into it and makes that this is implemented in each country and internationally, as you have mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
My message is this: we don't have to be the same, have the same faith, the same color, the same ethnicity to work together to make this world better. With our diversity, we need to focus on what connects us as human beings, and each one of us play our role and will make this world a better place. Focus on the connectors, avoid the dividers. That's why I work very closely with Reverend Nyabera, because I focus on the connectors between me and him. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Kamini?
To the adults in the room, let's not sacrifice the future of our children. Let's take up our responsibility for our future generation. That's our call to action.
Thank you so much. I'd like to end by saying that we are on a continent of Africa where the median age is 19, which means 50% of us are above 19, 50% of us are below 19. Let's look at family budgets. Where does the 50% go? Where does it even get to close to that? Let's look at national budgets. Let's look at the budgets of our faith communities. What do we spend on? If this is the structure of our continent in relation to the demographics, let's reflect on that. Let's be practical. Sometimes we say government. One of the participants at the group where I was, it starts with family. And then all the structures in society, can we transform? And rather than sacrifice the future, live for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend Nita and the panel. And we are coming to the tail end of our gathering today. Somebody should give a mic to Ryan. We'll just get one word from Ryan as we come to an end. He's seated there. And then we'll also have for us just one word, and Mustafa one word. Unfortunately, we only have 4 minutes or 3 minutes to get out of here. That's why I'm, yeah.
So from here?
From wherever you're comfortable.
Okay. So I really enjoyed today's discussion. The other day I was walking down the streets of New York, and there was this kid who was maybe like 10 years old, 9 years old, walking all by himself. And my first thought was, where's your adult, right? And then it turns out that his mom was like half a block ahead of him or whatever. But I think really for kids to have an active voice and for us to look at everybody, kids need to find their adult and adults need to find their kid.
Wow, thank you very much. I hope you guys are tweeting some of these phrases. They're very powerful. We should not forget them for us.
Thank you all for joining us here. It's been really heartening to see, especially the young people in the room, participating so actively, sharing their thoughts and feedback. And I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we hear the voices of the children and go back and see how we can work better in a more inclusive way.
Thank you very much. Mustafa?
Thank you, Fred. Mine is just to reiterate that children and young people are going to have to be the front and center if we are going to shape this world for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. Let's appreciate them. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence and also the collaboration that we have with Mtoto News. A number of these young people are also been nurtured by Mtoto News, including Brian, that said that he's only been a dad for 1 year. So we do appreciate them. Jennifer, the CEO, is somewhere here. Jennifer, thank you very much. We are on the journey. This is not the end. This is a process. And we'd like to appreciate also the Eastern Africa Children Rights Network. We are strengthening that collaboration, and their representative should be around here. Thank you very much for joining us today. And many more people we can talk about. Father Elias coming with our own institution to help us with our research as we move along. And many more, many more. Thank you very, very much for today. This is a process, Karimi. And I agree with you that we should not be talking to ourselves. And in fact, there's a group already that is trying to harness all these conversations and find out a way in which we can pass it on. Earlier on, Ryan, you were in that meeting also. We are part of, it's called Culture and Faith-Based Impact Coalition. And we've been asked now to bring in some of the asks. What are some of the things that we want to see in some of these documents? So there are spaces, we are harnessing, we are harvesting, and we try to put this together and make sure that they find places in these particular spaces. And this is a process. We have the African Children Summit coming in South Africa. Mtoto News is very much part of it, and we are part of it. We'll continue this discussion. We are thinking of having a session in New York during the summit itself, and there'll be different processes that lead towards that. Global Network of Religions for Children, we have a meeting in Abu Dhabi. Mustafa extensively talked about that. So we are looking for all these spaces and making sure that we're not talking to ourselves, we're having intergenerational dialogue, we're listening to children, but at the same time, we are influencing the policies in place. Thank you, thank you. Lastly, as people of faith, hope is one thing we bring to the space. There are many, many different challenges, but as Desmond Tutu once said, we are prisoners of hope. We cannot give up. Now in silence, as we conclude, let us pray in our own way in about 1 minute silence. Praying about all the things we've had, praying for our children, praying for the future, praying for the peace, and praying for the outcome from this conference that is going on. Amen. Thank you very much. We have your contacts. We will be in touch as regularly as possible. And you can also network. If you are part of different other meetings, maybe we will be able to meet there. Thank you. And God bless you.
We are zero hunger, sustainable. We are hungry.